Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the Radio Toons podcast. How's it going?
It's going great, man.
It is going great. I'm Steve.
I'm Ernie.
We're back from our Thanksgiving break.
We're full of turkey.
Yeah, and boy, did I need that break. Because, fuck. Just, not that I'm like a hard worker or anything like that. I'm just saying I need a break, Like, I just...
Let's hope your boss isn't listening.
Yeah,
I don't do much work, but boy howdy did I need a break.
I don't like to say I work hard. You know why? Because when you say you work hard, you set that as your standard, and anything above that's just extra. So if you're not working hard to begin with, then what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that becomes your standard. It's just it messes everything up. I mean, that's just me though.
I say just work smarter, not harder.
There you
go.
Work
smart.
I do an adequate amount of work, and I am a competent employee, which is extremely underrated nowadays. I just want to say that. But in all seriousness,
sad news today.
Oh, jeez, man, I didn't want to go into that right away, but Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, passed away today, which was a really big surprise.
Yeah.
Not a good one.
No, not at all.
You make it sound like it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. But I had no idea he even had ALS or like any medical problems, because he was 57.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally like on my lunch break at work, and just everyone's like posting sad SpongeBob stuff, and I was like, no way, it was Hillenburg, right? Because I didn't even think he was that old.
I thought maybe it was like one of the older, because some of the voice actor people.
Yeah.
Like, some of them have
passed. Yeah, because like Mermaid Man passed away.
Yeah, so I thought, maybe, somebody else that was a little older died. It was like, no.
But it was, and I was like, shit, like, I don't think anybody saw that one coming. I mean, maybe if you knew about his condition.
If you knew, like, I was reading just trying to find out more about what happened, and on his Wikipedia page, it was saying that, like, he had been diagnosed a year and a half earlier that he had that, so, they knew something was up. If you kept up with him, you probably knew what it was. But like, I don't know. That's crazy just to think that guy's gone. I mean, SpongeBob's been here for like how many years now?
It's almost like
it's almost like 20 years.
It feels like 20 years. Yeah, I'm not even joking when I say that, because I think it was like 99 or something that the show premiered.
Wow.
Because
that show just doesn't get old, man.
It doesn't, and it's this kind of like that show hit like. I feel like everybody enjoys it, Like me and you, we watch it with our niece like all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone can enjoy that show. It's so universal. Like I don't really think I've met anybody who said they hate SpongeBob. It's such a like, even me, who is like a picky bastard about everything, it's like I love SpongeBob. I used to go over to my friend's house specifically just to watch SpongeBob over the summer, because he had cable, and we didn't have cable yet.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, and that show was just, to me, was like, dude, this is the fucking future. Like, this is...
It's crazy, because even at this, like, this point of my life, been working for so long and blah blah blah. My nephews and nieces barely, like, my niece is going into junior high pretty soon. Nephew is like in high school. I still quote early SpongeBob's, like seasons like 1 through 6.
Yeah,
they like quote them right along with me.
Yeah,
because they just run them like crazy on Nickelodeon.
That's what I'm saying, is like somehow everybody knows SpongeBob, and everyone like gets the quotes. Like it's
crazy. It's so it's such a clean like show. By today's standards, and he's not like cynical. He's super positive dude. And somehow that still translates over, and everybody loves him, and that's kind of crazy to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he was involved in the show towards the end, but yeah, it's just like what I'm saying is, like, I don't know how big of an impact it will be on the show nowadays.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't think there will be much of an impact on the show, other than they might do like a couple of episodes trying to, in their own way, that kind of thing. Yeah. Aside from that, because that machine is like, that's a well-oiled machine, man. Like
SpongeBob at this point.
Yeah. Because you see, like, I remember when I first tried to, get into Nickelodeon, they had like the SpongeBob the early SpongeBob model sheets, and then the ones they had now, and then now the ones that are like full on, like he has so many spots on the front of his face. He has so many side. It's crazy how much detail goes into them now.
It's very like formulaic now. Yeah. That was actually the first. What is it called now? It's called LA Comic Con, but it was called Kamikaze.
Right.
The first time we went to Kamikaze, Nickelodeon was there, and we took our nephew, or it might have been.
Might have been the second or third.
It might have been WonderCon, or what did we take? No, we always take our nephew to Kamikaze. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, it's all cleared up. I know you guys were worried. We were standing in line to do something else, but we were right next to a Nickelodeon line, and they had the artist there drawing live in person, and this woman drew Squidward perfectly in a matter of like a minute, and it was so ridiculous because like I don't know what she was doing it for. I don't know if she was like warming up or something or doing like a panel, but they were just kind of standing there. And we were like we were just looking at him from the line, right? And me and my nephew were just like sitting there watching her, and she just instantly like drew this Squidward that looked like perfectly it came out of the show, and I was like, damn, like that shit is ridiculous.
That's how many times she's drawn Squidward.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Really, is like these people have drawn them so many times. It's like, Jesus, it's like just second nature to them, which is pretty cool. Like I would love to be that familiar with like any character. But yeah, so very sad news. I really can't believe that happened. It was pretty much shock to anybody.
Same here, same sentiments. It's like it's shock, but I don't know. It all you can say is it's like it's thankfully like his show is gonna live on for like a couple of generations, because even now that he's gone and everything, I think in reruns and everything, there's gonna be a lot of generations of kids that are gonna be able to like laugh at what he created, like laugh along to what he created and everything.
Yeah, it's not a show that really like follows trends or anything, or like has any kind of social commentary. So it's gonna it's timeless.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, but yeah, so I hope you guys had a grand Thanksgiving. Me and Ernie had a very nice Thanksgiving with our family. Like I said, we needed it. We needed that break. But I also did some Black Friday shopping. Oh, yeah? I don't know if you guys did any Black Friday shopping. Yeah, apparently Best Buy had a really good sale. But I went to I just went to Target because it's right there, you know, and they usually have their deals like.
They always have the Blu-rays for sale.
Yeah, they had like a couple cheap Blu-rays. So I managed to pick up Logan for $6. Logan on Blu-ray.
You got such a good deal on that, because I'm gonna tell you, when you brought it over to watch, I opened up that thing and there was like 4 discs, and I was like, why are there 4 discs in this thing? And one of them said Logan Noir. Yeah, like as a black and white disc. I was like,
well, I don't know what that is. Yeah, that's them, feeling themselves a little too much, I think. But I also got Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was not very discounted. It was still like $20, but a discount, right? And
that movie, am I crazy that just came out?
It did. I was actually like, why did I buy any DVD or game before Black Friday when everything was going to be discounted? Yeah. But I'm glad I did, because honestly, it's like I'm not the kind of person that wants to wait in these huge lines, or like, I'm trying to spend Thanksgiving with my family still.
Totally same sentiment.
Yeah, but yeah, and I got I think I got like Incredibles 2, some other stuff. Yeah.
Some Christmas presents.
I did get some Christmas presents. Yeah, I got something for myself today, actually. But I'll talk about that later. Anyway, so Logan.
Yes, Logan.
Me and Ernie watched Logan. I brought it over just so you could watch it.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of pressure from work to go watch it. Yeah. Because everybody's like, if you've watched the X-Men series, any of like Future Past, blah, 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 all these different ones, including like X-Men Origins Wolverine, the Wolverine, all these kind of things, they were like, this is the cream of the crop. This is like the best. One of my friends quoted it as the best superhero movie ever. And I was like, whoa, coming into this like super hot, because they were talking like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever.
Best superhero movie ever, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a. Those are some hard.
Quite a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty good. I gotta say, and it was actually pretty surprising to me. That this same movie was set in this universe of other shitty X-Men movies. Like I almost couldn't put. I was like, you're telling me this guy, this Logan, is the same one from Origins that cut the sink with those funky ass claws that looked really fake.
Oh my god, that walked away from a helicopter that was crashing behind.
Jesus, okay. So just real quick, Ernie. First of all, what did you think of the movie? Just in one sentence.
I think it was pretty good.
Okay.
It comes with a little grain of salt because I'm like, there's so much shit behind it, and that this is standing on top of all that. You're like, it gives it a little extra boost because you're like, all the other crap that you made us watch, and then this is finally what you give us. It's like you're almost grateful that they made it, right? But it's like if it had come out and you were like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie, kind of thing. So that's why it's like I give it a little more, than regular, just because.
No, I definitely understand that.
You know what I'm saying?
I felt the same way because, like, especially when you watch like Red Letter Media reviews, they're all like, "Oh, this Marvel movie was great."
Yeah.
Marvel movies are always pretty good, right? Yeah. But Logan was like, to me, it was like. It's like this failing kid in school, right?
And then
he finally gets like a B+,
and you're like, oh my gosh, yes!
You're just like, I fucking knew you could do it,
hey, you know what? Let's go to Toys R Us. We'll get you a toy.
Yeah,
let's go to somewhere like.
As opposed to like this kid that always gets straight A's, it's a more surprising, that the underdog finally got a B+.
It's so true. That's a perfect sentiment. For how I feel about this movie.
Yeah, and I was actually like pretty surprised that they were able to piece together a coherent story with everything that they had from previous movies,
Yeah.
So, like, they're able to introduce X-23 as a child in this movie, and then, like, they're still using Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and, like, apparently Caliban is in one of the other movies, too.
Okay.
And, like, so, like, in another way, I was like, wow. So, they not only did they make it a good movie, because I think it's a good standalone movie.
Yeah, no, it is. Honestly, if you just watch this movie and not watch any of the other ones, you're good.
I think so, yeah.
You're totally good. I came into it with a kind of a not a different perspective because I'm sure a lot of people, but like with a background to it. I had read a couple of years back. I'd read this comic book series, a limited run called Old Man Logan.
Right.
And when this first was gonna come out, and they saw like an older looking Hugh Jackman come out, I was like, oh, they're gonna do Old Man Logan,
right? And
they were gonna do it rated R because Deadpool did like gangbusters. Like, wait. People will watch an R-rated movie and they're like, yeah, they'll watch it.
Turns out they will, yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. Will they do this storyline? And no, they didn't do anything close to that storyline.
They did not. No, I thought the same thing. So I went on Wikipedia, and I like looked at like a summary of it and stuff. And yeah, they did not. But also, they had like a slew of other Marvel characters in Old Man Logan, so I don't even think it would be possible for Fox Studios to do that.
No, because like Old Man Logan takes place in this like post-apocalyptic, like kind of a lot of set pieces that you kind of put together when you're talking about like an older Logan or whatever.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic world, everybody's fucked.
Right.
You got the Hulks controlling one part of the world. You got Kingpin controlling most of this world. And it's like. It's definitely a dour kind of place, and then like all hell breaks loose, and then Wolverine kind of travels because he's been sent on a mission, and then he catches up with a bunch of old people, and you're like, oh, this is what happened to him. This is what happened to him.
Yeah, like Hawkeye's blind and only has one arm.
Yeah, and then Captain America's gone, and the Red Skull is controlling some part of the world. Like Logan ends up killing him. The weird thing about this series though is like he refuses to pull out his claws because like I'm not that person anymore.
Okay, well in that way they are kind of similar because this movie Logan is kind of him dealing with what he's done in the past, and he's also very old, as as you can tell from like the posters and all that shit.
Right.
Real fast, I want to point out that the movie is called Logan. Okay.
Right.
And you might say, why is that relevant, right? Well, you remember when I was talking about Venom,
Mm-hmm.
and I said Venom is called Venom because it is the most blatant way to sell a Venom movie. It's called Venom, you know?
Right.
Like Spider-Man: Homecoming, you're just like, oh, is that? I'm playing a dumb person right now. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is that like a part of a series like Homecoming? Like why
Yeah.
don't you just call it Spider-Man, right? Whatever, you know.
Yeah.
They had basically the balls to just call it Logan this time around, you know?
And just trust that most people understood that Logan was Wolverine.
Yeah,
you know
because it's like X-Men Origins, Wolverine.
Right.
It's like they couldn't just call it X-Men Origins, or they couldn't just call it something else. They had to call it X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
The Wolverine is straight up called
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Who stars in this movie? Let me think. Wolverine.
They couldn't have called it anything like more clever. It had to be just called the Wolverine. And if you look up Logan on Amazon Prime,
mm-hmm.
it says Logan, and underneath it, in the same text, it says Wolverine, the Wolverine.
Yeah. Well.
So I don't know if they were like, it's like, is that like the cast? You're telling me Wolverine's in this movie, or like? But my point being that they were able to, one, make it rated R,
right,
and two, credit people, and even in like a small way, you know, by just naming it Logan,
right,
you know, and so it's like, oh, okay. You know, true fans or whatever the fuck you want to call them, they know that this is, you know, a movie about Wolverine.
Plus, you know, people can see that he pulls out claws and
yeah,
tails.
right.
So, like,
you know,
they're
right.
not stupid. But...
Although, at like first glance, you might look at the poster and be like, it's a guy in a suit, something old, you know. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I will say that right off the bat, a lot of the appeal is from Wolverine slicing people up. Like,
well, yeah, like. Just to give a quick synopsis before you get that, like, basically Wolverine's working a shitty job.
He's a limo driver.
Yeah, he's working a shitty job because he's trying to save enough money for him and Professor X to kind of sail away. Because Professor X is having seizures, and it's like, it can really fuck people up because I think one of the bad guys says is like, you got a degenerative brain disease in the most powerful brain in the world.
Yeah.
What a combination.
He's a Dumbledore of mutants. So.
Yeah. So, you know, he's trying to do that. And then, you know, curveball gets thrown at him. This lady's like, hey, take my kid up to so-and-so place. Mm-hmm. And this guy's like, we want that kid. And then all hell breaks loose from there.
Right.
The kind of catch is that, you know, in the very beginning of the movie, you find out that Wolverine doesn't heal as fast as he used to.
Right.
So that kind of carries you through the story.
His claw doesn't come out, so immediately you're like, wait a minute, I know that Wolverine's claws come out. Yeah.
Also, you notice his bullet holes don't instantly close up. You know, because they take a little longer to close up.
Not to mention he's like drunk or passed out or something in the beginning. Yeah. As far as I know, nerd I am. Wolverine can't get drunk or be affected by drugs because of his regeneration stuff.
I don't know about that.
I know that's the
case for Captain America.
No, that's the case for X-23. Is that her stuff is so, her regenerative crap or whatever is so good that she's immune to alcohol and drugs.
Which would be weird because they drugged her in the hospital.
I don't know.
To keep her under for surgery and stuff. So I don't know.
Well. Yeah, I don't know, because that's what's kind of weird. Is like they did the same exact thing to her as they did a Wolverine. It's like, you know that weapon. He escaped. Like
I know. Listen, I know is like the key frame of this. Like just to go kind of through it because I don't want to get too hung up on that stuff. I'm gonna first talk about stuff I really liked about the movie.
Okay.
The future that they presented in the trailers. Was very post-apocalyptic, and in this one it was more like, no, it's not. You know, that's just certain parts of the movie where you're in Mexico or whatever.
It's 2024.
It's 2024. He's a little older, but it's like the world isn't destroyed. It's just the parts where he's at are kind of shitty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he's in Las Vegas, and so like people are drunk and blah blah blah. Then he goes to Mexico where he's like in this little desolate area. So it's like, okay, it's not post-apocalyptic. There's still people. America's still America. Blah blah blah. So it's so that I like that they didn't go with the post-apocalyptic tropes right away. You know?
Sure. It did kind of remind me of Mad Max, just
certain parts because they were out in like the desert.
Yeah, but also that there's like a guy in a trench coat who looks kind of trendy, and he's like, hey, come here, little piggy, I want this little, I'm hunting that person or whatever. Like, I was just very like, okay, I get it. I've seen something like this before. Like,
yeah,
he almost looked like the bad guy in Far Cry.
A little bit,
like how he had like the tinted shades, like with the brown amber on him, and like the cool haircut and like a trench coat and tattoos and all that. Like
the bad guy in this movie is just some like guy who's hunting X-23. They need her back, and he's just kind of like your general, douchebag bounty hunter, But what's really like cool about him is his hand.
Yeah, his hand was pretty cool.
That little CG hand or whatever.
Whoever animated that hand did a really good job. We were looking at some of the behind the scenes stuff, and he just has a green glove on.
Yeah. It's like he was what he needed to be. And that's he's just a bounty hunter. He's a douche bounty hunter, and that's all we needed in this movie.
That reminded me too. We saw the deleted scenes. Real big ups to them for cutting some of those scenes out, because
those were completely unnecessary.
Man, were some of those stupid. Like, it's like
let me just preface it with this: the first one's called Logan Gets a Ticket.
Yeah,
and he literally gets stopped on the highway and gets a speeding ticket.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna get into like what I didn't like about the movie, but one tiny thing I think they could have like drawn back a little bit on was. Everybody was just like, does X-23 remind you of somebody, Logan? Are you maybe
heavy-handed?
Yeah, like maybe you're related to her. And then people asking like, hey, is that your daughter? Is that your daughter? Yes, it's my daughter. It's my fucking daughter. Like,
it's my dad and that's my daughter. Well, it was like there's so much heavy-handed or hand-holding in it.
Like
I hate that.
The scene where he gets a ticket or whatever too.
Yeah.
They really there was this whole part where she's like, that's your daughter? And he's like, yeah. And she doesn't talk. And she's like, honey, is this your father? And they make her nod. It's like, I fucking get it, dude. Like, just...
They're family. I get it.
Thankfully, they cut that part out.
Yeah.
I think that stuff only really started to like weigh on me the second time I watched it with you. Was when I started noticing like, man, there's a lot of parts in this movie that are a little bit goofy, but I'll
you think so?
Yeah, I'll forgive them.
Like what Steven mentioned earlier about the claws part, they definitely use that to their advantage at being art, because Wolverine just slices the fuck out of everybody who gets in his way, and he gets pretty fucked up as well. Like, this movie is the Wolverine passes out movie, because good lord, it's like every 10 minutes he passes out. Which
is cool, actually, because not that I hate Hugh Jackman, I just don't really like him in this role. I've never really liked him as Wolverine. Everybody who listens to this podcast knows that. But I was like, he finally, in this movie to me, seemed a lot more rugged, and he seemed a lot more like, not like overly powerful,
right?
You know? There was like these moments where he was like filled with rage and he went nuts, which is like, yeah, that's Wolverine. But he wasn't like this overpowerful like leader type guy. It was almost like it was the Wild West, and he was just like this lone gunman, like in the same way that like a lone gunman kind of like has done wrong things and he doesn't want to be a hero anymore, and like it had like this whole Western vibe, and they were also watching Shane, so in case it wasn't.
That's another part where I was like, they're literally watching Shane. This whole movie is based off like Western premise about like a guy who's done bad in his past, and he's coming to help people.
Yeah,
and when they ask him to stay, he's like, the world's not made for me anymore. This is all your world.
He's not really looking to make amends. He's just looking to live out the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's just because like kind of like a theme in Westerns is like the good stranger can't settle down, and because he's just not part of that world anymore. He can't turn away from all the stuff that he's done in the past. And I thought that was, like I said, it was a lot of hand-holding, because they're like, look, they're literally watching Shane. I was like...
Something else that I found a bit weird too was the fact that like X-Men comic books existed in that universe.
That was jarring to me. That was so jarring.
I was like, okay, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That part to me was like a little bit strange. I don't even think the movie really needed it. But who knows? I don't know. Like
it was jarring because I mean, I don't remember them using that in other movies. So like and the comic books they used, they would look like they were from the 60s cuz that's what they were. They were like old ass comic books.
Right.
But like in the timeline they are, it's the 90s, and it was very jarring because of that. Like, you know what I mean? Like the comic books were drawn in the old school, like Marvel style. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not the like 90s style, and not the 2000 style of comic book. But supposedly this is 20. What was it? 29 or 24?
It was 24. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. They actually, one of the deleted scenes, too, was a kid talking to Wolverine.
Yeah.
One of the mutant kids.
Yeah.
And he had a Wolverine toy and a Sabretooth toy, and he was making them fight. And I was like, yeah, I don't know I think it was a good decision to take that out. Not just because it's a little too much, you know, like, so like I said, if you have the Blu-ray of Logan, and you do take a look at those deleted scenes, you should appreciate that they were removed because they do kind of clutter the story up. The movie's like what? It's like 2 hours and something.
It's a long movie, but like one of the great things about this movie is because Wolverine is, I'm not saying he's Superman, but like he's very unstoppable in his like prime form. He can't be killed. You know, you shoot him and he doesn't die. Like he stood up to Dark Phoenix. Remember, like parts of his body went missing, and then they would heal up. So it's like guy's invincible.
I try to forget that movie.
And like, since the guy's so invincible, he doesn't really have to be a good fighter because he's just like, I'm just gonna wait till you use all your bullets, and then I'm gonna stab you.
Yeah, adrenaline is mostly how he gets through things.
Yeah. So, but in this movie, it's like every shot mattered. You know, like he could get shot, but it really slowed him down, and he was dying. He was literally dying. So there was a risk to this movie. And because of that, like. All the deaths that involved kind of the main characters and everything were just like, wow, they did that.
No, yeah, it's true. That's what I mean by like he definitely wasn't invincible. No. Like at the start of this movie or at the end of this movie, obviously.
And you get that right from the beginning.
Yeah, it was just cool to see him like actually have to like struggle and make decisions and like emotionally react to stuff. Right. Because like. You know, I haven't really watched the other ones, but I wasn't really too invested in the Wolverine character. Like, him being in love with, like, Jean Grey in the movies was very stupid to me.
It is
like,
dumb.
I was like, whatever. But, shit, I was going somewhere else with that. Oh, yeah. So, you know, there's that whole, like, Western symbolism thing or whatever, right? Something that the movie just made up as well was X-24. So,
oh my god!
So X-24 is the villain that he fights in this movie, basically, and it's straight up just a clone of Wolverine. Which, okay, look,
of young Wolverine.
Yeah, so I get it. You know, from a moviegoer's perspective, I'm looking at this movie, and this guy is literally fighting himself in the past. It's like he has these inner demons, right? And he's literally having to combat what he used to be. You know, and he needs to show that he's better than that or whatever, right?
Right.
I get that. It was just kind of goofy to me, like they just, cause they kind of foreshadow with what's her face's video, right? They're like, they're putting together a weapon, and it's gonna be so strong and whatever, right?
And it's a weapon, and it's X-23 was right after X-23 they stopped and it was like weapon X. And then it showed a flash of X-24. I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on.
Yeah, and it was just, I don't know, it's like, I don't want them to do that Deadpool thing that they did in Origins, but I was also kind of like, why would they make the same guy? Like he obviously lost to the first one.
They did a piss poor job because so the lore of Wolverine is that at one point they had like this helmet on him, and they could control him by like controlling what he sees and hears and whatever, and they would send him out on missions as Weapon X. This one they literally just let loose, and they were just like, go do what you got to do, and he's just like a murder machine.
I don't know.
So it's like, well, okay.
there was this weird thing where like that guy Rice was like his father.
They said that he only listened to Rice.
Yeah. So, but when Rice dies or whatever, somebody tells them like oh look, X-24, that's what Wolverine did. He killed Rice. So
yeah, because at one point Rice is like spouting exposition and says, "You're like a new baby born boy." So he only understands certain things, and right as he's giving him like the green juice, and he kind of tells him, he's like, "You're just like a new baby boy. You'll heal. You're just fine. You're gonna be back in true form."
So he's just like the one that takes care of him.
Yeah, exactly. But because of that, he actually listens to him. I think that was programmed into him. Which is dumb if you think about it.
I thought it was kind of weird. But like I said, like visually, it's like a nice visual metaphor for what's going on, and
I honestly didn't think they needed that.
Well, it's like, who is he gonna fight? He's got to fight another.
But that's the thing. Like he's so weak that generally an army was taking him down. Like, they were doing a good job of keeping him down already. Yeah. And that's why they were running, because he couldn't murder all of them.
What happened to all the adamantium bullets? Because
yeah, that's another thing too. Because supposedly adamantium it's kind of like a rare alloy.
Metal? Yeah. Okay.
So they can't just waste it on bullets. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But he has one.
I don't know where he got it, but he's got one.
Yeah, and
good. Thank God it was the right caliber, right, for that.
But like,
what I was gonna say real fast though is I was reading the Wikipedia page, and apparently vibranium can destroy adamantium.
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like we almost forget that Captain America and Wolverine are like the same universe, because the movies are so like they're in different universes or whatever. Yeah, but like when I was reading the Old Man Logan page, it also made me kind of sad that like shit, like this couldn't have even happened in the movie because the studio stuff and like all the you know, whatever legal crap, they can't even have them in the same movie, which kind of sucks, but whatever. Honestly, this didn't even really feel like a superhero movie. If I'm being completely honest, it's like
no, it didn't feel like one either. And it's funny because they had literally superhero like toys and comic books in this movie.
Yeah,
and a bunch of kids who that had powers. So they were basically growing mutants, and X-23 was like kind of the result of that.
I don't know if it was just me, but the special effects were kind of bad. Maybe that was just me.
The kids, I think they were bad.
When the kid like electrocutes that tank thing that the guy's on,
yeah, it looked bad.
I was almost like, geez, that was finished, because it didn't look like it was finished.
I remember when you saw, you're like, they were good with that?
Yeah, like, I don't know. And then what else? Like the ice breath from that one girl.
Yeah,
didn't look amazing.
No, it didn't look great. Yes. But it was just like, I don't know if it was just because like they were out in the wilderness, so the light plays differently.
I don't know.
When you're in shadow or something. I don't know. It didn't bother me enough where I was just like, that's terrible. But like, in terms of the story, it was fine.
No, yeah, I'm actually glad they kept it to a minimum.
Yeah.
There was a cool scene where that woman's phone, she has a video of them using their powers, the kids.
Yeah.
And this one kid like lights some guy on fire, and they kind of do like a camera trick to make it like to make it look like the guy came on fire or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Just keep it like that. Like,
low fidelity on a phone.
Yeah, I don't think I need to see the rest of it. That was kind of cool though, actually. How the battery life on the phone runs out, and it allows like Logan to watch that part by himself later on. Right. I was like, oh, okay, that was pretty clever. Like themes work and they feel natural and organic in this movie. Like, right.
Like they tried to be as subtle as Fox can be, and that's saying a lot. Like, for example, like, what's the guy's name who can smell mutants? Caliban. Like, he picks up on a lot just right away, so he's like, you got the wrong dosage. And he's like, what can I say? That guy gave me what he had. I wasn't in a position to bargain. And he's like, read this to me right now. And he was basically trying to tell him, I know that you're fucked up because you need glasses.
That you can't see.
And your eyes should never be so fucked up that you don't need glasses. Kind of thing. And they try to make it as subtle as possible, but later on he just says, you need glasses.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right, gotcha,
Yeah.
all right. But they tried. I like, you know,
he has glasses.
I almost love. I almost love this movie because they attempted to do these things so much. Like, I love the attempt a lot more because they were trying to be as subtle as possible. Like, when he goes to grab, he's like, do you guys sell cell phone chargers here? Like, when the battery runs out?
Yeah.
And he just grabs for cigars, too.
Yeah, I think see him smoke the cigars.
No, I think that was another thing that got left back, but I just love that that's a little hint to look. Remember when I used to smoke cigars?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, like, you don't need to see him doing it or, like, it's just there. Caliban is played by Stephen Merchant. Stephen Merchant is a British comedian. He does a lot of stuff with Ricky Gervais.
Best known for The Office, I think, right?
I think best known as Wheatley from Portal 2.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So if you guys were maybe like, yeah, I think I recognize that guy's voice, that's who he is. But yeah, in extras, there's a scene where he masturbates, and that's all I could think about. That's all I could think about the whole movie.
That's what you took away.
Yeah. But he was actually a really cool character. I like how he was... he obviously didn't betray Logan.
No.
You know, he was like the guy said, he was just like, we think that you're leading us here like a couple seconds later
to give your friends
friends a head start, and then like
I liked his dying death scene.
Yeah, he's like
better in the movie than in the cut. Like,
yeah,
there's an extended cut scene of him dying on the floor after he triumphantly killed those guys. Because essentially, like, he can't stand the daylight, like it burns his skin. So the guy teases him with, he's like, what did your mom always say? Because they always tell you muties the same things.
Beware
like,
the light.
Beware the light.
Yeah.
And so later they have him like in this cage where they have all their weapons and everything. And while they're trying to suit up to take out Logan, he's able to like grab some grenades. And then he goes like, beware the light. And then goes clink.
Yeah,
and then he throws it out and he's like, boom. And it explodes. And you're like,
great
yeah.
Scene. Just end it there. Great, yeah.
And then I saw the cut scene where he's just crawling out. He looks at Logan and goes, bleh.
And then he just died.
I was like, why? Why would you film this?
Yeah, it kind of.
So I was like, good, they cut that out.
Yeah,
I just left it out.
You really would have just shit on the whole like.
He died so dumb. He said the line and then threw it. I was like
the whole message of that scene.
Yeah. So like, see, those are why I think I was like, yeah, they need to make more. Fox needs to do more like this because this is starting to elevate it towards like a much better movie.
You know what helped it out too, I think, was the fact that they could just kill whoever they wanted, because this was essentially going to be the last time that Hugh Jackman plays Wolverine.
Right.
But speaking of that, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. Wolverine's his name. Wolverine and Professor X's relationship in this movie was cool too.
I dug it.
I really liked to see that, especially like there's like scenes where like, I know this is like a small detail, but there's a scene where Logan picks up Professor X and puts him in his bed, or like when he would pick him up and put him in the truck. I don't know why, but I was like, it's cool that they show that, you know, because to me, I feel like you could have easily done like this camera trick to hide that, but the fact that they actually show him pick him up out of his wheelchair and like take him, it just felt like so much more like oh, okay, they're actually like close, like they trust each other, and like this is actually happening right now. They're selling me on this illusion right now.
That's why I love this scene where he goes like, Logan, what? He's like, I know what you're gonna say. He's like, no, Logan. He's like, what? I need to pee.
Yeah.
And then they show the whole scene where he puts him in the chair. And he's like, I can handle it. He's like,
yeah.
You think I want to watch you do this?
Yeah.
Like that little squabbling part. Those are the parts I enjoyed.
It was also nice to see like Patrick Stewart, and I mean all three of them really, but Patrick Stewart interacting with X-23 was like adorable. Like, because they have that kind of like old person, like little kid dynamic, you know, where they're both like kids and old people have like that same kind of like nuttiness, you know, like they're both kind of crazy, and like they interact on that level, you know. And it's cool because everyone thinks that like Professor X is crazy, but it's like, no, I've been communicating with Laura this whole time.
Well, it's not so much that he's crazy; he's been kept in like a medical.
Well, they think he's crazy. They think he's a little off his rocker, off his X-Men wheelchair.
But at first, that kind of like when I first saw that their interaction was very genuine, I was like, wait, why? How come they're so buddy? And then I was like, oh right, he says he's been talking to somebody.
Yeah.
So it was one of those details that I was like, oh, okay, I remember that now. It's like one of those things that they got right.
Yeah.
In that they did their homework and said that he was communicating with her before. The only problem with that I had was that, like, I like to see it, not hear it, you know, but I like that they at least included that detail through other people.
Yeah, it was subtle.
It was a lot more subtle than they're used to.
Yeah, and then like later on too, when Wolverine's like, what did Charles tell you about me or whatever?
Yeah.
Or like that she calls him Charles, not Professor X or
that's another
anything
thing,
like that. It was cool. It was really nice, and there was also a lot of really nice scenes of X-23 looking at Logan, and like the whole theme is like father shit, right? Or parenting. There's scenes where like X-23 is like looking at Logan and seeing the things that he's doing, like a child would look at their parent. Mm-hmm. Like with a scene where he's carrying Professor X up the stairs, she's like following him and looking at him, like, you know. Like he's basically making an example for her, and he didn't even know, you know, like it was just something that was just kind of organically happening because this is just, you know, they're just living their lives and whatnot. So I thought that was a really cool touch that they like kind of highlighted that. Like
there's so many great moments, and whoever edited this movie did a really good job with what they cut out, because a lot of the scenes that, and I hate to pick on the deleted scenes one more time, but like there's a scene that's so damn jarring that I was like, how did they even film this and think this was okay? Was, so on their road trip, they help somebody out. Right. And then they're like, you want to come over to have dinner as a thank you. And I was like, great. And then in the midst of this dinner, Professor X goes like...
Hold on, just to clarify, this is an alternate dinner scene. It said alternate dinner scene.
Yeah, an alternate dinner scene. So but it leads into the...
So in place of what we saw in the movie.
In the midst of this, Charles starts talking about his school and gets really somber. And then he says, I had a student there named Jean Grey. And then he says, he killed her.
Yeah, and he points the
whole room goes silent. Logan tries to laugh it off.
Very awkwardly.
Very awkwardly. Then he gets up and says, well, we should be going. We got a long drive. And then he's like, no, you guys should stay. It's like, what in the fuck are you talking about, lady? This guy just told you, this old geriatric man, and the point of crying just told you that this man murdered a woman of his. And then you're like, let's stay in my house, please. I was like, what? Yeah. But that was cut. Right. And none of that is mentioned in the movie because, like, the dinner scene that we got was a really genuine...
It was so much better.
It was so much better. They talked about, like, it was one of the... Later on, Professor X is confessing to who he thinks is Wolverine. And he goes, like, this is one of the best nights I've ever had. A warm bed, company, and a home-cooked meal.
It was a good scene. Because of, like, what I was saying earlier is, like, you could tell X-23 is, like, learning how to live a normal life.
Right.
Inadvertently or just, like, by accident, Right. And it's, like... Professor X is trying to tell Logan the same thing. Like, you should try and enjoy this, Like, it's not going to always happen, and we have, like, a rare moment in our road trip. Yeah, just relax. He ends up getting the whole family killed. But, it's true.
I just want to point out, this is one of my gripes. This is one of the stumbling points in this movie. So Wolverine and the guy from the house, they go off to take care of something. And, like, Professor X is laying there with X-23, like, on a cot next to him.
Yeah. And
then, like, subtly, and I use that word very loosely, a man steps into the doorway, and Charles suspects that it's Wolverine.
Yeah.
So he starts to tell him that I remember what I did, and, like, suppose, like, apparently in this universe, Professor X had his very first seizure, got the entire mansion, like, a bunch of kids died.
Yeah, you weren't... I don't know how you were supposed to know this. I had to read this from, like, a interview with the director.
No. Yes, but, like, essentially, something happened.
Yeah.
And that his seizures can kill people.
Yeah, okay.
And so you kind of put it together that something really bad happened. And then he's like, and this has been one of the greatest nights that I've had in a long time, and I don't deserve it, and blah, blah, blah. And he does this monologue. Like, this whole, like, 2-3 minute monologue. And then he finally turns, and it's the evil Wolverine, the X-24.
Yeah.
He puts his hand on his chest and kills him.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that this killing machine decided to step into the doorway and listen to this old man talk and let him do the whole thing before he killed him?
Yeah, I don't...
Like, are you kidding me? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's like, wait, what?
I know what you mean, because they're like, you were saying earlier how Dr. Rice is like, that guy is essentially like a kid or something.
Yeah, he doesn't understand anything.
Like, they literally keep him in a van, and they open the door and they're just like, let him out, let him loose, like,
go,
and they all like run.
Get out of the way.
So I do know what you mean, but it's like, how did he sneak into the house?
I know, and like subtly sneak into the house, and then make sure that if Professor X is there, make sure you listen to what he has to say before you kill him. It's like, didn't make any sense.
And like, I mean, now I'm just nitpicking at this point, but it's like, X-23 has Wolverine's like nose, right?
Right.
Don't they know sense or something? Like, cause
I mean, like, here's the thing, right? Wolverine. I mean, you could say that they have the exact same scent because they're a clone, right?
Sure. But
so it would.
You would smell like lab plastic or something, wouldn't he? Like, Wolverine smells like old, rugged.
Well, if you say
adamantium.
that, like, first of all, they don't even mention that his nose can smell things. First off.
Well, I remember in the cartoon, there was a lot of like, I smell some like.
Yeah. No, I remember that. He does that in other movies too. He's like, because remember, like, in the first X-Men movie, he's like, and then he busts out his claws because he smells Sabretooth.
Oh, okay.
He smells Sabretooth and then he gets hit with a tree, if you remember.
Oh, okay.
That.
I don't. Yeah.
But yeah, like, he could smell, but like, I guess you could put it to, oh wait, he's really old. Maybe his stuff doesn't, like, his nose doesn't work anymore. Fine.
I'm talking about X-23. Like,
she's
laying next to Professor X. Like, can't she smell him? Like,
you would think so, right?
Like, she's the new model. You know, like, she's got to have.
She's brand new. Oh my gosh, that part in the movie was like, I like that they tried to explain it, but I don't think they even needed to.
Needed what?
The part where they reveal that X-23 has a claw in her foot. And then Charles goes like, you know why she has a claw in her foot, right? Because the lionesses have extra claws on their hind feet. One is to protect and the other one is for hunting. And I was like, oh, that's nice that they added that detail. Like, these are the parts of the movie that I really enjoyed, were like when they tried to make sense of things. You know what I mean?
You know what's weird too is like, that was also in the Wikipedia page. It was like she uses her leg claws in defense mostly. I was like, what a strange detail to add. Like, you can't just say like she cuts shit up with all limbs. Like, you have to say like, primarily these leg ones are for defense. Like, I just okay.
Because the thing is, like, why are they referring to lions when he's called a Wolverine, right? It's I don't know. Anyway,
cats. They're some kind of cat or something.
The last big gripe, like, there's a lot of gripes in the movie that I have, but overall it's very enjoyable. One of the last things that I wanted to say, because it's such a big gripe for me. The endings. Of course, I'm talking about the ending. So the ending, she is like, Wolverine's dead. Spoiler alert. Like, I don't know if you know that. In the end, he gets buried with some rocks, like James Kirk style. They just pile some rocks on top of him.
Which before you get to that, it was a very nice scene at the end with him dying and all that. Like him holding X-23's hand and whatnot, and
it says this is what it feels like.
Yeah, and it's finally like, oh, some redemption for this.
Oh, character. Of course, that's a very hard. It's a very good scene.
It was a really nice scene, and everything leading up to that too was like him having to deal with her like all fucking mad and all that. You know? Mira, no. She's like yelling at him in the truck because she speaks Spanish. Which I thought
she punches him. He's like, "Don't punch me."
Yeah, her speaking Spanish was kind of weird.
By the way, I did not. The thing is, like, that part where she punches him, I didn't hear metal clanging on metal, which I should have heard.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to say that. Yeah. But I was like, fine, let it go. Who gives a shit?
Maybe they were just like, they did it and it looked cheesy or something.
Because they had done it, but that's the thing is, like, they had mentioned that so much in the other Wolverine movies. When someone tries to punch, Wolverine is like, clink, oh, my hand.
They definitely do. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But yeah, continue. What were you saying about that?
So in the last part of the movie, because she had watched Shane once, she knew that specific speech that talks at the end when Shane gives the little girl the message verbatim. She was able to just like, there are no more guns in the valley. Go tell your mom.
And all the other mutant kids were like, what the fuck is she talking about?
But the stupidest part, I was like, I knew he died, so I didn't expect his hand to break through the rocks or anything. And I was like, that's going to be stupid if they
badass. Oh, yeah.
But there's a cross there, which I was like, that's weird. They've never mentioned anything like that before, but whatever. So, but the stupidest part is she takes the cross out and makes an X with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did you do that? Ruined the entire end of the movie because, like, it's X-Men. It's like, it's so stupid. This wasn't the X-Men. This was Wolverine. It was just Logan.
Well, he's Weapon X, And I think...
she couldn't just hang his she couldn't just hang his fucking
dog tags or something.
Yeah, or she couldn't leave a comic book or something, but she had to make it an X. I thought that was so dumb and it ruined the ending for me.
I think it was definitely one of those things where, like, I was watching the movie and I would be like, ha, if she pulls that cross out and makes it look like an X, that'd be fucking stupid. And then like she does it and I'm like, oh damn. I wasn't
She
serious.
done did it.
I wasn't serious. Like, not that it completely, like, ruined that scene for me, but I was definitely like...
It ruined it in the way that it was like, wow, this is a nice scene. It's somber. The tone feels right. It's like a nice little send-off for Wolverine, and then they're like, X. Yeah. It's like, why?
It definitely turned, like, my smile into kind of like a... Yeah. Like a stretched out smile, like, it's still good. That was a little bit weird. And...
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, they should have just cut it before she even touched it. Like, I would have preferred, like, a leaving of dog tags, or if she put the dog tags on,
or if you're going to do the X thing, it's like...
Because the movie's called Logan. I mean, that's not even his real name, but, like, it's like... The whole movie's called Logan, right. And he does, like, reach for his dog tags in the very beginning of the movie. I thought there'd be a callback to that, like she wears them later on. It was like something like that, but no, it's like this weird X thing. When X-Men hasn't really been a big part of the thing, other than when they mention the comic books.
I think
so. I thought it was just out of place.
I think my main problem with it was just that, like, you couldn't have done that with some kind of, like, camera trick.
Like, yeah, like
shoot it from an angle, or like let the sun, like, set and make the cross an X on,
over the grave,
like,
or something.
Like, as like a shadow, like,
yeah, because you know what, that would have been very clever. You know why? Because remember, their window for getting so essentially where Wolverine is trying to get this girl, she has to be there at a certain day between 12 and 5. That's their window to get in there. So what would have been clever is, like, look, the sun is at noon.
Yeah.
Now they can go get into Eden, whereas they're trying to get this place. And because of that, the light shines down on the cross from, like, on top and makes it look like an X. That would have been better.
Yeah, like...
You just improved the ending, like, a million times more just by saying that.
I just think her, like, literally pulling up, like... I don't know. It's just something about, like, her standing there. She's just like, wait a minute. Like, oh, dude, this is going to be so sick. Like, Wolverine's going to love this shit. Like, watch this, guys. And, like,
I even think that there were... I wouldn't be surprised if at one point it wasn't a cross. It was just, like, one of those pieces of metal that they stuck in the ground as a tombstone. And I just picture this part where X-23, like, busts out her claws and she just scratches an X on it with her claws, and we're like, oh, God. That was a written version at one point, I can guarantee it, just because of how weird that scene was.
And then it just, like, ends with, like, Rage Against the Machine. You
know? Go in it now.
Yeah. Dude, we just improved the movie. We made it so much better.
There was some other stupid parts in the movie where I was like, this is just so dumb.
Those random boobs in the beginning for no reason.
Yeah, that's one part where I was like, we were watching the beginning and I was like, well, it's rated R. They need to check off 2 things. Or 3 things. They gotta cuss. And so, like, in the very beginning, someone's trying to jack his car, so they start cussing at him and whatever. 2, there's gotta be lots of blood and a beheading and whatever. Check. And then, like, even before the credits are finished, hey, driver, look at my tits. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there's the boobs.
Yeah,
all checked off. Let's go with the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie, they cuss sometimes, and there's like violence, but there's never any more nudity or anything in the rest of the movie.
You know, it's weird. I feel like so the beginning of the movie has a lot more fucks than the end, I think. And I almost feel like at the beginning of the movie he was like, what did they say? We can make it rated R? All right, fuck it. Like, and he just started writing, like, fuck into every sentence. And then towards the end, he was just like, yeah, I kind of forgot about the fuck, you know? Like, I don't
Let's just tell a story.
Because there's literally a scene where, like, Patrick Stewart says something like, he's like, you think I'm a fucking idiot, don't you, Wolverine? Or, like, shut the fuck up or something. And I'm just like, sounds kind of weird. Like, sounds like Professor X wouldn't say that, you know? Like, it's just... I mean, I suppose you could say, like, okay, maybe Logan's rubbing off on him or something, you know? But, like...
Or you say, like, you can't say fuck in front of the girl. But it's just, like... It's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, those were the gripes that I really had at the movie. It's like, they had this checklist that they were... It felt like they were going through this checklist. And it's like, tits? Check. Cussing?
Yeah.
Check. Lots of blood? Check. Because some of the stops were, like... where he kills people, or it's just like, oh, okay, so we gotta have like a beat on every scene. You have to have a fight scene.
Product placement, check. There was definitely...
What product placement?
Cornflakes. Cornflakes was definitely in the movie, and then there was there was
Chevrolet.
There was no. I mean, the Chrysler. You mean?
I mean the Chrysler's.
They actually didn't show the logo, which I was surprised.
No, but they called it out by name twice.
Yeah, there was a shot where she's holding Pringles, and the logo is right in the fucking camera. Which I was like, you know, it's still very subtle, you know. Yeah. I get it. They did a good job.
I think that's funny though.
Yeah, you know, X-Men.
Overall, though, I have to say it's probably one that I'll end up buying that DVD because it's a well-made movie.
Yeah, it is. I really liked it, and also it's like, finally this guy. I mean, I know a lot of people like the other X-Men movies, but I feel like this is how do I put it? I feel like the other X-Men movies you watch once and you're done, you know?
Yeah.
This one was definitely like, I could watch it a couple times and still enjoy it, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, especially the first three X-Men movies, it's like, geez, I watched those when I was like a kid. I never went back. Like, why would I ever need to do that?
I put them in the same vein as like Transformers, right? Because like most people who watch Transformers, they're in. Like, they've been in since the first one.
Yeah.
But I watched like maybe 2 or 3, and I was like, I don't need to watch these anymore. They're fine, but like, whatever.
Dude, I remember... I watched the second one, and I just could not believe how lowbrow the humor was, because in the first one it wasn't that bad, and the second one was just straight up like, yo, this Transformers got nuts, and I was like, dude, like... Literally
had nuts in it.
Yeah, and I was like, this is like for kids, right? Or like somewhere in between these two things? Like...
Anthony Anderson's in the second one, let's just say that.
Wasn't he in the first one?
I think it was just in the second one.
Okay,
I don't know.
It was terrible.
I ate the whole plate.
Yeah, his jokes were so shitty.
But like in this, like I watched all those. I watched X-Men Origins. I watched X-Men. I watched the Wolverine, and it was just like they were action movies, but like they were like what do they call it? Lowest common denominator movies. It's like this needs to happen. And then the X-Men fight these guys, and then the X-Men fight these guys.
Yeah, I was
the end.
I was telling Ernie like we should find them somewhere cheap.
Yeah.
Like just DVDs. I don't want these shits on Blu-ray. Like just DVDs or something of like Apocalypse and Days of Future Past. Because I'm curious.
People say that those are like, oh man, those are the best ones. Yeah. That one and like First Class.
You know, I was talking about Red Letter Media at the beginning of this podcast.
Right.
I was watching the reviews of it, right? Because it's like, for those movies, I'm like, I'm never going to watch the fucking movie. I'll just listen to what they got to say about it.
Right.
Mike is like talking about these movies with like this like shit-eating grin the whole time. And I'm just like, you know they're bad, but you like them because you love schlock. You know, and like, I feel like that's a lot of people share the same opinion, where they're just like, they know it's kind of corny, but they just like it because of like, say, the actors or just, you know, the cheesiness of it. They don't mind it.
But then what happens to me is that like, why can't you not have that and have something closer to Marvel where you're like, oh man, that's dope and it's funny and it's good.
Yeah.
And the actors are, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah, because one of the things they point out is how bad the X-Men timeline is.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, because
it's completely awful.
Because they're just like, Jennifer Lawrence is supposed to be this old in this movie, but she's like the same age.
Yeah,
or it's a really like convoluted like story time thing, and then like Days of Future Past has something to do with time travel and shit.
Yeah, and somebody told me that the new ones that came out that have to do with like Age of Apocalypse and Days of Future Past and all that, they ignore X3.
Yeah. Something weird
like something that. From X2 Jump, and then from what I understand, Logan is another like split timeline. It's not from the same timeline or something.
He's going back in time. Because apparently in the comic books, Kitty Pryde goes back in time to warn some shit, something like that.
Okay.
They sent Wolverine back because it's Hugh Jackman. So there you go.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Because Hugh Jackman?
Movies. Yeah. They said, oh, Kitty Pryde could do it, but that's Hugh Jackman right there. So how much are we paying for this guy? Let's send that guy instead, you know? Which is kind of which is one of the big reasons why, honestly, I'm always like, these movies just fucking like reek of like market research, and I hate that. Because
it's not even that. It's more of a, you know, an executive saying we're paying like Hugh Jackman all this fucking money, and he's like, well, yeah, but in the comic books, Kitty Pryde goes back in time. He's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
we're paying some 20-something model to be her. We're paying Hugh Jackman a shit ton of money. He's going back in time.
Yeah, that's like, exactly what I don't really like. Or like who's gonna play Storm in X-Men? Halle Berry, and it's like, oh, she was.
And you're like,
terrible.
why is she? Why is she playing that?
Because she was in the Flintstones, all right? She was in Viva Rock Vegas.
By the way, not that Halle Berry can't do a good job.
No,
I'm
but
not
it's just
saying
like,
that. But
it's like the flavor of the month actress, because like she was. Okay, she's done a lot of movies. Okay, I'm not talking shit on Halle Berry. I just did. I understand that, but what I'm saying is like. Marvel will go with like sometimes these no-name actors just because they fit the role perfectly or something, and it's that's one of the great things that they do is they have a headliner. Like in the first one, they had Robert Downey Jr. and then they had Chris
Gwyneth
Evans.
Paltrow.
Okay, yeah.
In the first one, right? Those were the big stars, you would say, because like Terrence Howard was kind of a B-list actor.
Robert Downey Jr. That was his redeeming role because he hadn't done shit. He was out of rehab.
Right, but they picked him because kind of like he had played these roles before. They knew what he could do.
I think he was just good for the role, honestly.
Right, but like think about who they used to do the mentor guy. Like that really important role. The guy who's in the cave with him, who helps him get out and all that stuff. Like how important was that guy? And I'm sure that they had a long list of like, oh, we have tons of people who can play this old sage
dude
who guides Robert Downey Jr.
I have a better example, which is fucking Thor, because people were digging up headlines for Thor when the first movie was first announced.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Marvel doesn't give a shit about Thor because they cast this no-name bastard as Thor, and it's like, wow. Like,
Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth and what's his name?
Loki? Tom Hiddleston?
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
I don't know that guy's name.
I don't know. I don't even know if that's correct. But like,
it is. But like, they're so perfect for those roles.
Of course
like,
they are. But it's
and it's like my point is like the doubt in people's minds that like just because they were no-name actors, people think like, oh, they don't give a shit about this series.
But that was just thing. Like these people that are like these huge actors, they carry along with them these personas. You know what I mean? Like. Before he was Captain America, Chris Evans was like, who was he?
He was not another teen movie.
He was not another teen movie. He was
Human Torch.
He was Human Torch, but like none of those things defined him. And I think that's what they were like. This is going to be the movie that defines him. This is what we can do with him because he doesn't have like, a past to him. He doesn't have like this defining role that makes people think, oh, they're going to use so and so to do this movie or blah blah blah. You know, the only one I can think of that was like they went, you know what? We can get a big name actor to play this big name play this small role or whatever. It was
Jackman.
No. Doctor Strange. They used Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh,
I was like, what? Benedict Cumberbatch? They're gonna pick this like freaking globetrotting actor to play this.
But
like
mostly in Britain, right?
No, here too. Like people knew him from you know what, you're right.
Because like,
it's
mostly Sherlock. That's what he is.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, he's like people knew who he was.
Okay, fair enough.
But Doctor Who was like a relative unknown. So what they did was like they took this big name actor, put him in that role, so people would be interested.
You know he's not Doctor Who, right?
I mean Sherlock, and he was he played Doctor Strange. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say. I said Jackman. What's his name? Samuel L. Jackson.
Playing Nick Fury.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Why not?
Well, because apparently there's a Nick Fury that's based off him in comic books.
Yeah, they redid that. Like they redid the some of the more recent Marvel comic books to have him instead.
Yeah. But also like Ant-Man, like Paul Rudd. It's like They gave that guy a shot, man. Like,
but who doesn't like Paul Rudd? I don't get that. Who doesn't like Paul Rudd?
It's not that I hate Paul Rudd. I just, it was what I'm saying is it was good of them to do that because he was not like he's a no-name actor, but it's like he was in like a bunch of stoner movies and like Clueless and like right, okay, so. You get what I'm trying to say. But anyway,
like because of this movie now, it's like I feel sad that the whole Hugh Jackman thing is over. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, so now Fox has understood that you can make a movie that's a little more subtle. You can take a lot more risks, and the audience is not as stupid as you think they are.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so with that, I think that they could move forward, and I'm sure they're gonna reboot Wolverine at some point because like now that they got Marvel helping out and now they can use the word Marvel, they can do the X-Men
Mutant and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're gonna see a new Wolverine and everything, but I think now they understand that hey, we can all make money off of this now.
Yeah, like I don't want to drag this podcast out too long, but I do feel like Marvel is gonna wait a while before they do any kind of X-Men stuff, just because I feel like they don't want to really compete with the Hugh Jackman and Fox like universe yet.
Why not?
I feel like they won't because especially like after watching this movie, it's so hard for me to kind of like imagine people liking another Wolverine. You know what I'm saying? Like
they liked another Spider-Man.
Yeah, but even that is just like there's people that are just like
they tried it twice.
They're just like Tobey Maguire is my boy.
Okay,
like
they were like Tobey Maguire like. You know, and then they were like, we're going to reboot it again. And they used that other Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And they were like, and Marvel's like, listen, guys, I understand that you've had Spider-Mans in the past. We're going to do our own Spider-Man, who's like a kid.
Marvel said, let me try this shit real fast.
So, like, they'll just try their version of it, which isn't like trying to be the definitive one, but it ended up becoming the definitive one for me. And you know what? It's it's going to be the new wave of Marvel movies, so why not? There's plenty to work with there.
Yeah.
And they can do a whole thing again because, they already used Cable in Deadpool.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they already are like, oh my gosh, there's an apocalyptic future.
Yeah.
And, you got a guy who's traveling. Like, he's part of the X-Men lore.
Is Deadpool's part of X-Men then?
No.
I'm sorry. He's part of, like, the Fox Studio universe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
So,
but I mean, he's all fucking kooky and whatnot, right?
Listen, this isn't the Deadpool 2 podcast. That was way back then.
He could just be like, "Whoa, MCU, what? What the heck? Ryan Reynolds, I love that."
They did that in part 2. Remember?
No, I didn't see it.
There's a part in the mansion. He's like, why is it that like he's
talking? He's like, I can only see like 3 of you guys in this whole.
Yeah. But in the second one, he's doing the same joke again. But then. Like behind him, all the X-Men are in a room, and then like the Beast closes the door so that he can't see them. Yeah,
Brendan.
And I was like, and it was the real actors. It wasn't like
I was about to say Brendan Fraser, but it's fucking Kelsey Grammer. I'm sorry, it's really late. I'm getting all these names mixed up. But
that means we should call it. Man.
Yeah. But just real quick, I saw Wreck-It Ralph last on Thanksgiving Day actually at night. At like the crack of fucking midnight, I went and there was nobody in the theater, and I said, "Fuck yes, this is my theater," and I watched it. And I'm not gonna say anything yet because Ernie wants to watch it too. But yeah, so we'll have the full Wreck-It Ralph podcast next week. But did you have any final thoughts, Ernie?
Just that I hope that Marvel does do a new X-Men series because I really want to see. A new Logan that's a lot better than the one we got, except for this movie, obviously.
You mean the character himself?
Yeah, I just want to see a Marvel take on it.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a good timeline and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I enjoyed Logan very much. Didn't think it was a perfect movie, but it's definitely the cream of the Fox Studio crop.
Yeah, definitely. It's the best X-Men movie you're gonna get.
For sure.
Right now. So
right now.
And I don't think we're alone in saying that. It seems like the general consensus. Right. So yeah, that does it for this week, guys. See you next week.
See you next week, guys.